The year is 1492. Christopher Columbus set sail from Spain in search of a new trade route to the East Indies. Little did he know that his journey would change the course of human history forever. What followed was a phenomenon known as the Columbian Exchange, a process of transfer of plants, animals, culture, and technology between the Americas and the rest of the world. However, some theories suggest that the Columbian Exchange was part of a grand European plot to control global agriculture. In this video, we will delve into the mysteries and controversies surrounding the Columbian Exchange and explore some of the most intriguing and fascinating theories about this event. The exchange of crops. The Columbian Exchange had a profound impact on global agriculture, and the exchange of crops was one of the most significant outcomes of this process. Europeans introduced crops like wheat, rice, and sugar to the Americas, while the Americas gave Europe new crops like maize, potatoes, and tomatoes. While this exchange of crops had many positive effects on agriculture, some researchers suggest that it was part of a grand European plot to control global food production. One of the most significant benefits of the exchange of crops was the diversification of global agriculture. Europeans brought with them a range of crops that were well suited to the temperate climate of Europe, while the Americas had crops like maize, potatoes, and tomatoes that were better adapted to the warmer climates of the tropics. This exchange of crops allowed for greater agricultural productivity and food security, which was essential for supporting growing population. However, some argue that the introduction of European crops was not a natural process, but rather part of a grand plan to control global agriculture. According to this theory, European powers intentionally introduced crops like wheat, rice, and sugar to the Americas to control food production and create a global system of dependence on European crops. This would allow European powers to dominate global trade and exert their influence over the rest of the world. At the time of Columbus's voyages, European powers were competing fiercely for dominance in global trade. The desire to control trade and exert power over other nations was a significant motivator for European exploration and colonization. Was this something they planned from the beginning? Was the thirst for power so great that this was a deliberate and intricate plan? The impact on Native American populations. The impact of the Columbian Exchange on Native American populations was profound and devastating. One of the most significant consequences of the exchange was the introduction of European diseases to the Americas. Diseases like smallpox, influenza, and measles devastated Native American populations who had no immunity to these diseases. Some researchers suggest that European explorers deliberately infected Native Americans with diseases as a way to conquer and subjugate them. It is clear that the impact of disease on Native American populations was devastating. Estimates suggest that up to 90% of the native population may have been wiped out by European diseases within a century of Columbus's arrival. The loss of so many lives had a profound impact on Native American cultures and societies, and it is still felt today. The impact of the Columbian Exchange on Native American populations was not limited to disease, however. The exchange of animals such as horses, pigs, and cattle also had a significant impact on Native American societies. Some argue that the introduction of these animals was part of a grand plan for global food dominance. However, the unintended consequences of introducing these animals to new ecosystems was not fully understood at the time. For example, the introduction of horses to the Americas had a profound impact on Native American cultures. Horses revolutionized Native American transportation and hunting, making it easier to hunt buffalo and travel long distances. However, the impact of horses on the environment was less positive. Horses are not native to the Americas, and their introduction had a significant impact on local ecosystems. They competed with native animals for food and water and contributed to the overgrazing of grasslands. The role of slavery in the Columbian Exchange. Another devastating consequence of the Columbian Exchange was the transatlantic slave trade. European powers brought millions of Africans to the Americas to work on plantations and in mines, creating a system of forced labor that had a lasting impact on the continent. The slave trade was not only a moral atrocity, but also a significant factor in the spread of crops and the evolution of agriculture in the Americas. Some researchers suggest that European powers intentionally introduced crops like sugar and tobacco to the Americas in order to create a demand for slave labor. This would allow European powers to profit from the slave trade and exert their influence over the rest of the world. It is clear that the slave trade was a significant factor in the spread of crops and the evolution of agriculture in the Americas. The introduction of sugar, for example, created a massive demand for slave labor in the Americas. Sugar plantations required large numbers of workers, and European powers turned to the transatlantic slave trade to meet this demand. The impact of the slave trade on African populations was devastating, and it is estimated that millions of Africans died during the journey to the Americas. The environmental consequences of the Columbian Exchange. The Columbian Exchange had a significant impact on the environment, and some argue that it was a significant factor in the onset of the Anthropocene era. The exchange of plants and animals had unintended consequences for ecosystems around the world, and it is still felt today. One of the most significant environmental consequences of the Columbian Exchange was the introduction of invasive species. European powers brought with them a range of plants and animals that had never existed in the Americas, and many of these species had a devastating impact on local ecosystems. For example, European rats and mice quickly became one of the most destructive invasive species in the Americas, destroying crops and decimating native animal populations. The introduction of crops like maize and potatoes also had a significant impact on the environment. Maize and potatoes quickly became some of the most important crops in the world, but their impact on the environment was less positive. These crops are heavily reliant on chemical fertilizers and pesticides, which can have a devastating impact on local ecosystems. The use of these chemicals has led to soil degradation, water pollution, and the destruction of natural habitats. The legacy of the Columbian Exchange. The Columbian Exchange had a profound impact on human history, shaping the cultures, economies, and environments of the regions involved. But the legacy of this event is still debated today. Some argue that the Columbian Exchange was a net positive for humanity, while others suggest that it had significant negative consequences, particularly for Native American populations. What is the true legacy of the Columbian Exchange? And how will it shape our understanding of human history in the years to come? The mysteries and controversies surrounding the Columbian Exchange continue to fascinate and intrigue us to this day. Was this event part of a grand European plot to control global agriculture? Or was it simply a consequence of the interaction between different cultures and societies? Only time will tell, but one thing is certain. The legacy of the Columbian Exchange will continue to shape the course of human history. Stay tuned for more next time. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up icon. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon to get notifications for new videos.